Hey, it's Marcus Washington, MTC Media. Welcome to the latest episode of So Long Tobacco Road. We're going to take a look at how does the University of North Carolina and Virginia Tech respond. Two different type of losses. For North Carolina, the blowout against TCU and Bill Belichick's debut. You had everyone there from Lawrence Taylor to Michael Jordan to Roy Williams, and it was an absolute embarrassing loss, and we're going to start there. How do the Tar Heels respond to that as they're going to play Charlotte at Jerry Richardson Stadium, which is in Charlotte, North Carolina? Should be a decent crowd there. Obviously, plenty of room for both sides to get there, and a relatively doable drive from Chapel Hill to Charlotte. And the first thing I would say is defensively, how does North Carolina grab their confidence back? Their secondary was beaten by a drum. The run defense wasn't there, and frankly, they were plagued by poor tackling. And I would think that this week, defensively, it might be simplifying the scheme. It might be get back to basics. Those type of things would have to be at the forefront. And then on the offensive side, it's just playing good football and not turning the ball over, not having silly penalties, not having those things, establishing the run game first. Those type of things. I know it sounds so basic and so high schoolish, but for this to be a successful win for North Carolina, it's not just what the final score is. Obviously, you have to win. But for this to be a successful win, it has to look like something that they can build upon. Look like something that, you know, is Belichickian, for lack of a better way of putting it, and to get this team back on track as they'll look at playing Richmond before heading to UCF. So it's going to get harder in a couple of weeks, and then obviously the date with Clemson, which is going to be hard. So they're ramping up to that game in the ACC opener. So for North Carolina, look at things that you can build upon. Virginia Tech, that was a different type of loss because you felt like Virginia Tech, as many mistakes as they made in that game against South Carolina, that they were right there. And they were plagued by special team breakdown, drop passes, and turnovers. You think about it, this game was 10-8. And you get to halftime, you're down by 2, and then you come out third quarter, it stays at 10-8. You're in the fourth quarter, you go to punt, and then there's an 80-yard punt return, and it's 17-8. And then, you get the field goal, you get it back up to 6, and then you give up a 64-yard touchdown pass from Lenore Sellers. And that was the thing about Virginia Tech. You can talk about they didn't play well. There was nothing to write home about, but they were playing a ranked team on a neutral field. So that was fine. It was fine. It was the whole idea that they were still in the game, and then to have those breakdowns in the fourth quarter, to get outscored 14-3 in the fourth quarter. And you look at it, the 2 turnovers were crippling, right? 4 penalties for 40 yards, and if I can find, I don't know if I can find the drops. I can't, but they had several drops in that game. Just little things, and I know they're sitting there saying this can go one of two ways. You can let a loss like this send you down the wrong direction because, like, oh my gosh, I had this great opportunity on the neutral field against a ranked opponent and I gave it away. Or you can say, hey fellas, man, take a look. How many times is Kyron Jones going to throw 2 of those type of interceptions and go 15 for 35, right? How many times is this defensive effort not going to equate in the win? How many times are we going to have this snafu on special teams? If you start thinking that way, then you start saying, hey, look, there's a lot of great things that we have going for us heading into this weekend's game against Vanderbilt, which is going to be a tough one, obviously. Vandy comes in. They are 1-0 with a win over, nothing to write home about is Charleston Southern. They won 45-3, but they are a much better coached team. And so Virginia Tech has to be prepared. I'm sure they will be prepared after last season and the season that Vanderbilt had last year, and they beat Virginia Tech last year. So this is a great chance. It was the 34-27 overtime loss. This is a great chance for Virginia Tech to definitely refocus. You get them this year in Blacksburg. You're coming off of the positive things that you can try to leverage out of the loss of South Carolina. And you have this revenge factor certainly in play going into ODU and Wofford. So Virginia Tech, their thing is to get a win. I don't even think it has to be a pretty win. I just think it has to be some better, more fundamental play than what we saw against South Carolina. But if they get a win, it's going to be a quality win against a well-coached SEC team on their home field. So what success looks like for Carolina this weekend and what success looks like for Virginia Tech this weekend certainly are two different barometers just based on where their programs are. Thank you for joining me for So Long Tobacco Road. All your ACC news. It's Mark Washington, MTC Media.